Hello and good morning, and a little thought on something we have been discussing a few times now in our agile transformation. And one of the main problems we sometimes have or at least some of us, is that when we are introducing a new model to the way of working, and we believe that our model, our agile model, allows a lot of liberty and freedom in comparison to maybe other models. But actually, it's not 100% right to look at it like this, but it sometimes feels like that. If it depends a bit on where you're coming from. If you're in a very constrained environment where how you do stuff, what you do, when you do it is all defined by someone else, and you're essentially the executor, then yes, an agile journey opens up space. What you do is might still be very precisely influenced. Other thing in other environments, maybe how or what you do is connected also to how you do it. Yeah. So when you say, for instance, I want to do something in Angular, and then you have an Angular library and you want to update it, then probably you don't need to ask someone whether you can upgrade it now or not. It's something you decide as a team, but depending whether it is bound to a feature or not, it might also be something the product owner will decide. But what most often happens is that at least how you do things is now up to you, and that could be quite a big change in comparison to before. At the same time, there is also, from an agile model, the idea of collaboration. Yeah. So whilst other non-existing methodologies, so I need to find a term at some point for the random stuff companies are doing when they're not doing agile, but it is basically very much relating to the work environment and not so much on the working method, how collaboration looks like in, say, legacy environments. In an agile environment, collaboration is a key thing. And if you are truly agile, you will find that managers, stakeholders, business people, users, IT people are strongly working together to discuss what is being built, what order it is being built, and how it is being built. And this collaboration and discussion is seen as an extra, and at the same time, it's pretty clear who has the last word in which area. So how something gets done, the team. What is being done, product owner, and the priority the same. This is a little bit of context why some people perceive freedom when it comes to Scrum, because suddenly, or Agile, because suddenly there is an environment, in the environment of work, there is something which seems to be exclusive to staff members, where, let's say, the management outside, the people usually able to intervene in any space, aren't allowed to be in. And this option was never on the table before, and that maybe explains also a bit why we believe an agile journey opens up freedom. And maybe, as said, it is the way, it depends a bit on your former working environment. The bigger the distance is between the former working environment and the agile working environment, and the amount of liberty you get, the more, of course, the longer the transformation will take, yeah, because it's simply a larger cultural hump you have to get over, or the bigger the change is, of course. But at the same time, we wonder what happens if the system strikes back. Yeah, because if you're going to a team and you say, whatever you want to do, just do it. We give you a guidance, but whatever you want to do, just do it. You would normally anticipate that people will sort of reach for the freedom and say, yeah, that's what I would like to do. I'm always looking for good metaphors. And one metaphor I recently came along is jail. If you are in jail for a year or 6 months, it will have influenced your life quite dramatically. But if you're coming out of jail, you don't necessarily have to accustom back to the other life. Yeah, you won't commit suicide because you're completely overwhelmed by all the new things you're seeing. You won't break down because of all the options. You will still have a social network in place, at least to some extent, if you haven't lost it for whatever reason. But it's not due to the time. The 6 or 12 months won't make kids grow up, won't make your environment die of age, etc. It's completely different if you're 20, 30 years in prison, because then the world has changed so much that you have people, I'm not talking about the German side of things where people rarely go that long into prison, but there is a so-called transformation management in place when you're leaving the prison after a very long time. And that is for the job market, it is for where you are going to live, because there's nothing you have. You don't have furniture, you don't have anything. You're starting like a student. And probably if a lot of social contacts gone out of the window, the social contacts you had the last 15, 20 years were all in hospital, sorry, in prison. And so that transformation for this jail person is not automated. There are quite a few examples where people don't want to go. They don't want to leave the jail any longer. They want to stay in prison. They want to keep the current environment because that's what they get used to. They have accustomed to this place, and it didn't become, let's say, the big problem any longer. The bigger problem is the new outside world they're going to face again. And then you have to gently bring them into the new life with a transformation management. Why am I making this comparison? It is, from an outside perspective, the easiest choice of a human being, that if he's in jail and he goes out, in particular if it was a long time, that he's looking forward to it, that he's automatically adapting to it. But no, there are high suicide rates amongst those people, and depression and mental issues. So apparently it's not the for them internally in their minds, it is not an obvious thing at all to go outside after a long jail time. And it's also not easy. It's not that they're arriving in the new world and everything is just great. But they have to accustom to a lot of things. I'm not having any sympathy for someone who's done severe crimes and is suffering from these things. I think it is a result of their former doings. Yeah, so don't get me wrong. It's just for the picture. What happens to someone in a company who has been, let's say he is 45, so similar my age, and when he started his in school and later on studying and later on going to job, that he was taught that a certain system is in place all the time, and suddenly someone comes around the corner and says, hey, there's a new system how you could work, but it gives you so much more freedom and liberty and more purpose, etc., etc. And suddenly you're putting this life upside down. The purpose of this person might have been until yesterday that he gets money at the end of the month, and it might have been for him for after getting accustomed to this fact for 25 years of work and studying, that he said, oh, that is my life. This is how I define purpose. Yeah, I get money, and from this I'm subsidizing my hobbies and my private life. So this is the purpose. This is why I'm here. And you suddenly tell them there's a bigger purpose actually out there than just earning money. And that is a difference. And then, of course, there comes all this freedom suddenly where you say you can or you need to decide. It's not only you can, you must. Yeah, you have to decide how you do a certain piece of work. And formerly, he might have been told how to do it. So it is a bit like this prison example where people have been living for such a long time in a certain environment that they're first of all afraid into the new environment. They don't know how the mechanics work. They don't have a meaning or intuitively a place there. It is also not for them easy to say, hey, we are, I need a purpose or I can find a purpose. It'll take him probably a few years to accustom to the new world and to slowly but surely recognize that he actually has a deeper purpose for his work than the extrinsic money topic, and that he has gained over the last 20, 25 years of work experience so much insight into how to do the job properly that he has actually good ideas how to do the job, but it'll take time for him to make these decisions himself. And I'm always talking about like we have to have a lot of sympathy for that person, or as if he was poor, or and that's maybe the next problem. Yeah, it's not down looking on someone when there is a team or a company working in the former style. It is just a fact that they have been doing it, and it's nothing to sympathize for or to pity or to think it's great. It's also not the case. It is simply just the way they did it, and we are changing the system upside down. And this upside down extreme means these people need time to adopt, and it will take a long, long time. And there is no natural appetite to change that, because even if you're in jail for 25 years, you might come to the end of your time, the jail time, and you don't want to leave any longer. Although maybe in the first or second year, you are pretty sure that the last thing that you want to do is staying another 20. But after 20, you don't want to go any longer. And that's a bit similar to this thing. So what do we do now about this? So now we know it's really difficult, and there's no, first of all, maybe understanding the other person's situation. I mean, that is, to be honest, my main problem sometimes. Yeah, I stand in front of this thing. See, this is silver, this is gold. Yeah, to me, it's always I don't know if you call this upsell, but there is the idea that whatever I'm trying to sell to the other person, I'm presenting to him, that this is better, and that actually all I have to do is present it once and then just leave, and the rest will happen automatically. And then there comes the sort of lack of understanding when it doesn't automatically happen. And I have recently come to another insight. What I see often in agile transformations is that people are going into this resistance mode, yeah, or doubt mode, or I don't believe this mode, or whatever it is, or I have a question mode. What about? And in former times, I either used to think people don't want to do it, and this is why they bring the questions along to just, block the movement, or they bring the questions along because they have sincere questions. So they really have something which they do not understand, and they need to understand in order to move on. I have learned something very recently where there is a third option. There's an internal panic and insecurity which comes up due to the transformation, due to the change. And the questions which are being asked are meaningless. They are neither in order to block, nor are they really things these people are wondering about. It is, first of all, a sheer or a clear sign that these people are stressed out, and they believe themselves, if you ask them in this very moment, they believe themselves that they need to know these things. What they actually need to do, and I have proven evidence for a few cases, so I'm just saying it is an option. I'm not saying everyone is like this, but consider the option that the person just needs to calm down first. Nothing's gonna happen. It happens, whatever happens in his speed. There is no idea of sort of making a change now, proposing a drastic model, and tomorrow everything is like this. It'll be slow. It'll happen. There's no reason to panic. Just calm down. And once they have gone down to a more calmer sort of environment, and definitely you're not getting them calmer by answering their questions. It is really focus on calming them down, making them breathe. And once you are in this position, ideally just go to bed, wake up the next morning, and then start to discuss the questions they have. There might still be valid questions that might have then quite different questions, or they might not have really questions. They might just say, let's see what happens. So I've seen that now for a couple of times. It's quite an interesting option to how I usually perceive questions which are asked during an agile transformation. Quite refreshing, to be honest, and also quite helpful. And of course, this panic story ties back into the jail story. Yeah, so once there's the last day, people are leaving. There's a similar sense of panic, uncertainty, anxiety about what's going to come, because they simply don't know any longer. After 15 years in jail, you might have a currency change in between. The prices will be completely different. There will be technology out there they have never used themselves. What about their friends, family? The kids, if they had any, are grown up. If they haven't seen them, are they going to see them now? So there's so many things which cause uncertainty, and answering all these questions. How expensive is a bus ticket, cinema ticket? Are they going to see their parents, family, or kids? Won't help them to reduce the anxiety because, or uncertainty. The uncertainty is far larger, and these are just the first maybe random questions which pop into their mind. And it is similar to any kind of transformation, I believe, which has substantial transformation things. And someone said to me, people are generally afraid about change. And this is also very true. Yeah? So it's just when there's one guy, Simon Sinek, and I've been watching his videos, and he said there's one part of our brain which is responsible for emotions, and it's not the same part of the brain who's responsible for speaking and language. And if we say change is something which causes negative emotions like fear, or is it negative? Well, causes emotions like fear, not negative necessarily, very useful emotion. Then this is the emotion, and then we have the other thing, which is the talking. The talking might be random, yeah. So it's in the sense of uttering words, uttering questions, which have their source maybe inside the emotions they have, but they might not have a direct connection. It might not be that you could say what I'm hearing is also reflecting the emotions inside. So you have to try to look past the words and past the meaning of those words, and rather try to figure out in what emotional state is the person on the other side, and then try to address this emotional state. But you're quite a fact-based person, and it is quite tempting to use what others people say as the thing to deal with, that this is what they are really after, because otherwise you almost say, whatever you're saying, I don't believe you, so you're lying. And it's not about lying. It is simply about the fact that whatever our emotions are, what our language is, that these two parts of the brain are separate parts. And how good someone is in expressing his emotions, in particular in a work environment, if he is actually, or would even, or if he has a very strong drive to not show his emotions, but still the emotions are there. So yeah, I think this was a bit interesting. I even can't recall the title at the moment of this video. I hope it gives a bit of insight into why people might not automatically cling to the agile idea and say this is the best thing in the world. And at the same time, it also maybe explains a bit why emotions are sometimes diluting the message and still need to be taken seriously. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope that was a bit helpful for one or the other